Ruby Frank, co-owner of the once popular YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, has been arrested with a business partner on charges of aggravated child abuse. Now, if you ever watched that channel, you would see the semblance of what a perfect family is supposed to look like. But again, there's a saying that don't believe everything that you see on social media. This story epitomizes that, but with a twist, of course, because at the point when we get into it, you realize that saying is cutting both ways. Where now it's obvious that we don't need to believe the perfection that some people seem to put across on social media, but at the same time, some of the things seen on their YouTube channel are actually going to be believed because some are going to be used as evidence, probably against her. So that statement is being put to the test with this case. But one would ask, how did this come about? How does a woman who is actually a wife and a mother for that fact and has been running a YouTube channel in the past, which has now been deleted, of course, get herself caught up in a situation like this where she's now being charged with aggravated child abuse? Herself and her husband have 6 kids. So, if for anything, she should be very familiar with how to take care of kids. So, what led to all this? Well, the whole thing came to a head on the 30th of August 2023 when neighbors reported to authorities that a child had actually come to them asking for food and water. And when they looked at the child, they noticed this child was very malnourished, and checks around the wrists of the child also showed signs that this child had been bound with duct tape of a sort. So they reported it because you can't have any child in your care getting into this category where it looks like this child is not being taken good care of. It's a serious offense. And when police came, it got even worse. It turns out that the child had managed to climb out of a window to get to that neighbor's house. Police came with a search warrant and they found more incriminating evidence to support the suspicion, and other children also in a similar state. And thus, the arrest was caused. But who is this business partner of hers? Her name is Jodi Hildebrandt. And Jodi Hildebrandt is also a counselor. So these are two women that arguably should know better. So how do they get caught up in something like this? And when it comes to parenting, I don't know which country you're watching this from, but I think this cuts across worldwide. When it comes to parenting, it's generally expected that women are better with kids than men. So how can two women, and for that matter, one being a counselor and the other being a mom of 6, get caught up in a situation where they are now being charged with aggravated child abuse? Well, I have a saying that in order to understand the present, sometimes we have to take a journey back to the past and we begin to understand why some things are the way they are in the present. So let's take a trip down memory lane and go and look at the history of Jodi Hildebrandt and the history of Ruby Frank and how they even came to team up all together and are now caught up in this issue. Then I'll add my 2 cents. So, Ruby Frank established a YouTube channel with her husband. Now, the channel was called 8 Passengers, and it was mainly a family channel. So it was themselves, Ruby, her husband, and their 6 kids. And this channel was meant to teach parents how to take care of their kids and bring them up. Ruby was interviewed in the early stages of the channel's inception, and she indicated that she formed the channel to motivate women nursing mothers, young mothers, and mothers who are trying to get back in the game to see how the journey all comes together in the end. So for me, I think that that was an honorable move. Imagine a mom sitting somewhere, maybe in the country with less opportunities, able to see that just by taking good care of my kids, I could actually make a YouTube channel out of it, teach other parents how to take good care of their kids, and by so doing, even make some money. It's cool, at least it helps to give hope and inspiration to some mothers out there. So if that was the genuine motive, then it was cool. But then, as the channel went on, people began to criticize the channel. But this was after the channel had been able to garner about 1 million subscribers in its first year, because people fell in love with it. And that's the thing with social media. Usually, when kids are involved, it's easy for people to love the content because, of course, kids are adorable, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But concerns began to come up over time because some people were also looking at how Ruby and her husband were handling their kids, and concerns were being raised by some viewers of the channel. Some of the concerns included an instance where one of Ruby's younger daughters failed to bring her lunch pack from school, and as her punishment, Ruby said she wouldn't pack any lunch for this kid. Technically, that means that you are going to starve this kid the next day, because the lunch pack in itself is not existing for its existence sake. It exists to serve as a career pack or a carriage for the lunch of the kid to school. Why? So that this kid does not starve. So if you say that you are not going to get her a new pack and she wouldn't take lunch to school by implication, obviously then people are right if they infer that you are meaning to starve this kid, and you are doing this on a YouTube channel aimed at teaching parenting to others. So all of a sudden, the channel that was established to teach moms and parents how to do better with their kids was now technically messing up with parenting. And that is where their problems started from. Because at a point in time, people fell out of love with the channel, and the channel became synonymous with suspicions of bad parenting, falling out, and kids being treated to pain and sometimes extreme, harsh forms of punishment that most viewers did not agree with, and even escalated the whole issue by reporting to authorities at a point in time. This made the channel very unpopular, and eventually the channel was deleted. There are even reports of an instance where one of their kids was denied Christmas because she was being selfish. I understand a parent trying to teach a child not to be selfish, but there are ways of going about it. Christmas comes once a year. Come on. If you take Christmas away, it's like you are punishing this kid for the next 365 days. And I think this kid gets it. You don't need to go that far. So these were sort of extreme things that this couple were doing. And Ruby Frank was at the center of it. At this point in time, it was herself and her husband. And they are also members of the Mormon church. So some people were trying to draw a link between religion or their religious beliefs and some of the things they were trying to teach on the channel. But I don't think there's any religion out there that sort of promotes aggravated child abuse or being that harsh extremely on children. So I don't think this has to do with anything about their Mormon religion. I think this has to do more about their bad parenting in itself. I think the two are separate parts of an issue that we don't need to put together. This, I think, is just an evidence of bad parenting from Ruby and her husband. Now, the channel got deleted eventually after hitting nearly 2.5 million subscribers. And people thought that was the last they would hear of Ruby Frank and her husband, as well as their channel called The Eight Passengers. So, Eight Passengers sort of went through the product life cycle technically, where it came in through the introductory stage. It grew to the point where people were in love with it, and then it started declining, and then eventually it faded out. So, living out of Utah, Ruby didn't give up. She didn't give up at all, even though she had become the subject of widespread criticism online for her parenting choices after these things. And most often, it will come up where people have snippets of the videos. People have downloaded bits and portions of videos from their YouTube channel content where they don't agree with them, and they put it up, and then they express themselves. So you would see that it was more like it has now become counterproductive with the purpose of why they started the YouTube channel in the first place. So there will be times when Ruby would have to see certain things and be reacting to it online, even though the channel is down. This is what happens when you put your family on social media, especially when you know that you are not what you are portraying yourself to be. I think that social media is very good, it's very important, but if you are not careful how you go about it, it could create real issues. Don't come on social media pretending to be a perfect couple or a perfect family when you know you have cracks. You'll be exposed. And you are going to be exposed in front of your audience, and it will bring you more baggage than you were already dealing with in secret. Be true to yourself. If you have baggage and you want to talk about it, fine. If not, don't come and perfect yourself on social media as if you are perfect without baggage. Your baggage will find you on social media, irrespective of the platform you are on. That's on the lighter side though, but I hope you get the drift, because sometimes some of these things I believe are also very detrimental to the mental health of others who may be facing similar challenges or even lesser versions of such challenges, but sees people portraying perfection and feel that their lives are really bad, or they are not blessed, or they don't have anything to be happy for, because they see everybody looking perfect and happy on social media. Dear one, if you hear my voice, don't believe everything you see on social media. Some people, or most people, actually just act up. Everybody is dealing with something. Everybody is fighting a problem. Everybody is dealing with a demon in one way or the other. Some are worse than others, but trust me, nobody is going through life without having to deal with any form of challenge or issue. Everybody is dealing with something. So keep your head up high and smile. Manage your troubles, but find reasons to be happy and proud of yourself. So this is what was happening. And this was more like the aftermath of the closure of the Eight Passengers channel. But then it would get worse, because Ruby didn't leave it there. She co-founded another platform, a parenting advice and support program called Connexions. And Connexions also became something that people attributed to, like, having more of a cult-like nature, but just that it's online. Because here she was free to really be herself, because the kids were not there on this particular platform. And although her husband passes through from time to time, she'll do this mostly by herself too. And people were very concerned about the style of parenting that she was promoting on this Connexions platform. And it seemed like some of them were a bit homophobic, racist, and transphobic. And some people were just not happy. Some people were not happy at all. And this is what I was talking about. You know, if you come on social media and you put content out there, people are going to give you feedback. Some will be good, some will be bad. some might be on the fence, sort of. But if you come and you are giving content and trying to put out principles aimed at people imbibing from you and learning from you to go and practice on other human beings, and they are so extreme and sometimes a bit dehumanizing, then it's a problem in itself because it begins to look like you are here to spread thorns in society, or you are here to spread an agenda which, if adopted and applied to somebody, can end up adversely affecting the person. And I think that this is how Connections was beginning to look like. It went on though, and Ruby still operated without any kind of regard for what was happening. There are times that she would defend herself and all, but eventually she also partnered with another woman by name Jodi Hildebrandt. Now, who was Jodi Hildebrandt? Jodi Hildebrandt is actually a psychologist who was suspended for a couple of months because she broke the oath of secrecy that's supposed to go hand in hand with her work. She actually took something that a client had confided in her with, and she took it out to talk about allegedly at church with a group of people. And that is a no-no. If you know anything about the medical oath of secrecy, it's what it is. It's an oath of secrecy. If a patient tells you something, it stays between yourself and the patient. Unless in situations where maybe in some exceptional cases, the law might make arrangements where something would have to come from a court or whatever for that to be revealed. But other than that, it stays between you and the patient, confidentiality. But she broke it. So she herself had issues. And after that instance, she then partnered with Ruby Frank and they started hosting their show together. But it turns out that the house out of which the kid climbed through the window to go to the neighbor to ask for food and water actually belongs to Jodi Hildebrandt. That's how come she was arrested. Ruby Frank was also arrested in connection to the same thing because she is seen on their channel having filmed a video there just some few days prior to this issue. So the theory is that then she's aware, or she was aware, or she probably was aware of what was going on in the house. Yeah. And that is what has brought us to where we are. Because when police followed up on the report and went in, they found a child which fits the profile of the first child who was looking emaciated, hungry, and having marks on his or her wrist showing that she had been bound by duct tape. They are being held without bail, actually, and it's a crazy thing. Some people have come out on social media to comment on the story that it's long overdue, that they had seen some of the things that were going on in the house, and they are happy that now the kids are going to be given proper help and justice will prevail. My 2 cents will start with those people making those comments. I have this question for them. So, what if the child had not climbed out of the window and went to a neighbor to ask for food and water, and the neighbor now seeing the danger the children were in? If that had not happened, it means that they were going to be quiet and the kids were still going to be in that situation. Because if it's established that the kids were in any form of danger in that house, anybody who knew about it and kept quiet and didn't report, I think is also having questions to answer or should have questions to answer. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Because I think that that duty to report is there, such that if you've seen what is going on, it's a crime. Aggravated child abuse is a crime. So if you've seen it happening and you kept quiet, that makes you technically complicit in a way. Unless I am overstretching, but let's have a dialogue about it. Because I think that The essence of society is to look out for each other, especially when it comes to the vulnerable. And the number one on the vulnerable list are kids. So if you've seen such a thing going on in the house and you are laid back because of one reason or the other, and you are only now coming out to talk about it and how happy you are police have come in because police have actually come in now, then it means that your silence contributed to what was going on from the very day you knew this was going on. And I think it's unacceptable. If you see something, what do you do? Exactly. You say something. You owe the children that. We owe ourselves that as neighbors. Don't keep quiet and think that because it's not your kid, you don't bother or you don't want to get involved. It could spill over and affect you. And look at these innocent kids. Why would somebody do this to them? More so, a counselor and a mother of six. For Ruby Frank, I think if she's lucky, she may be able to avoid stiffer sanctions or a stiffer punishment on this because it's not any of her kids, one. Two, it's also not her house. She's only alleged or suspected to have known about it because she shot a video in that house not long ago, prior to the day that this finding was made. But that is arguable. I don't know the layout of the house. I don't yet know the room or the rooms in which these children were being kept and how evident it was from wherever Ruby sat to shoot her video, such that she'll be able to see that, okay, this is going on, and then be in a position to say, well, I'm here to shoot my video. I don't care. Let me keep quiet. Because if that cannot be proven, then I think that she might have an escape route or she might have a loophole to escape through because there's also the possibility that she was in the house, but the kids were hidden in some rooms or in some spaces in the house where she didn't get to see them, and for that matter, never knew something like this was happening. That is a possibility. But for Jodi Hildebrandt, I don't see any way out for her. It's her house. She has to answer. It has not yet been established whether the kids are her own kids or children belonging to somebody else. But I think that she has a lot of questions to answer. She, for me, I think will end up standing as the main suspect, and maybe Ruby, if further evidence ties her to it, maybe a second accomplice or a second suspect or something of that sort. But I think the main person here will be Jodi. I stand to be corrected though. These are just my thoughts. But what do you think about this whole thing? And like I said, please, and please again, don't go to social media and see flamboyant stuff being thrown around by people and get depressed or get sad or get frustrated. Trust you me, people only show you what they want you to see on social media, but people are going through a lot. So if you go and you see someone flaunting and looking like the whole world is at their feet, be happy for them, but also be happy for yourself, knowing very well that most people won't come to social media to show you the problems they have. So it's okay, they show you the good things they are going through. Some are even faking it. So don't lose yourself, don't go crazy, don't lose your mind, don't lose your peace, don't lose your sleep, wondering why you don't seem to have any great things going on just because you've seen some things on social media being flaunted around or being demonstrated by people. Trust you me, it might not be as you see it. And now that saying is also being put to the test because in as much as you don't want to believe whatever you see on social media or most of the things you see on social media, in this particular case, videos are being collated from social media about things that had been put out there by Ruby Frank and her associates that would help build the case as evidence. So these things are going to be held as evidence which will support the charges being leveled against her and her partner. And these things are going to be taken in good faith most likely. So those things are going to be believed on social media that you did this, it ties into that. Yeah. So that's the negative side. Now, So, like I said, protect your peace and protect your joy. But then again, if you have a kid as a parent, or if you have a kid as a guardian in your custody, whether you're a teacher or whatever, hey, they are our future. Sometimes you may not have it the way you want, but at the end of the day, just know that they don't know the things you know. They are still trying to understand the world. Patience and love is what they need most from any other person taking good care of them. Let's do better for them. Subscribe to our channel if you are yet to do so. Turn on post notifications, and I'll be following this case. As and when updates are due, I'll bring them to you. Stay safe, and I'll catch you later.